Often, the pain we feel is not a sign that something is wrong, but that we are growing beyond the frames that once surrounded us. In this meeting, we will uncover how to transform the pain of silent loss into the clarity necessary for your spiritual awakening, revealing what your soul is trying to tell you when old spaces no longer fit. Staying in cycles that have already ended is not just uncomfortable. It is an emotional cost that drains your vital energy and postpones the authentic life that is already trying to bloom within you. Throughout decades of observing the wisdom of natural cycles, we have learned that the soul, much like a river, only reaches immensity when it accepts leaving the riverbank behind. You may feel like you are losing parts of yourself or loved ones, but this is not a mistake of fate. It is a necessary frequency adjustment so that your personal development can be whole and real. Today, we will perform a simple practice of presence so you can identify which baggage weighs heavy in your hands and how to let go with honor and gratitude. If you feel that the world you knew is becoming small, or that conversations that once made sense now echo a strange emptiness, know that you are not alone. We are living spirituality in practice. The moment when the theory of detachment meets the real challenge of inner transformation. We will dive into the journey of grieving the old self, and understand why the universe, at times, needs to empty our hands so we can receive what is truly ours. Evolving is often an act of courage that resembles a silent loss. The mourning of the old self happens when we realize that the person we were yesterday can no longer inhabit the dreams we have today. Jung reminded us that the process of individuation requires us to drop the masks that no longer serve our essence. It is a symbolic death, yet necessary for the birth of a new consciousness. Honoring the farewell is the key to not getting stuck in the past. As the wisdom of Stoicism teaches, we must look at what was true with gratitude, but without the illusion that we can force the now to remain in what has already passed. Giving thanks for the lessons is what allows us to release the invisible knot that ties the heart to what has already fulfilled its mission. We then enter the metaphysics of misalignment. When life paths change, it is not out of malice from fate or a lack of affection, but due to a new soul frequency. Just as in African philosophy the concept of Ubuntu connects us to the whole, it also teaches us that the flow of life is ancestral and dynamic. Changing course is respecting the movement of the sacred within us. But this movement, though sacred, requires a practical surrender. You cannot walk toward the new horizon carrying the anchors of what was left behind. The soul perceives that the next chapter of your story does not accept extra baggage. The trap of belonging is one of the greatest obstacles to spiritual awakening. We feel afraid of no longer fitting in the spaces that were once our home, but this discomfort is the soul's call to new lands. If we try to take old habits into new cycles, the burden will become unbearable. There is a sacred space in the void. The universe, in its silent wisdom, needs to empty your hands before offering what is new. In Buddhism, the fertile void is not an absence of life, but the womb where all possibilities can be born if we stop holding on to the obsolete. To navigate this transition, we need a practice of constant presence. Begin to observe which conversations, environments, and habits still nourish your current essence, and which are merely echoes of who you no longer are. Conscious silence is the tool that allows us to listen to what the soul whispers about the present. In this attentive listening, we begin to perceive that clarity is not born from accumulation, but from a subtle geometry of detachment. We understand that evolving is, in essence, learning to filter what is essential from what is merely noise. Discerning between soul affinity and social obligation is an act of spiritual integrity. Not everyone who has walked with us this far has the same frequency for the next step, and that is okay. Stoicism invites us to lucidity. Staying out of habit is betraying your own truth. Here arises the paradox of clarity. Losing people or connections can actually mean finding your own path. The misalignment we feel is the signal that our vibration has changed. By letting go of what no longer resonates, we open the field for real affinities to manifest naturally. The ethics of moving forward require us to break cycles without anger or judgment. Transforming the end of a relationship or a phase into an act of integrity is recognizing that each encounter had its sacred time. As ancestral traditions teach us, the end is merely the seed of what is to come. By planting this seed of detachment, we stop searching outside for the validations we lack. We discover that the end of each external cycle is, in fact, an invitation to wholeness, the way back to the home that has always lived within your chest. Evolution is not about finding what is missing, but about becoming more whole. The myth of the other half makes us search outside for what can only be cultivated within. Jung described the integration of the shadow as the path to totality. By accepting our losses, we become more authentic. When we look into the noir mirror of life, we observe the shadows of encounters that have already fulfilled their mission. These reflections show us who we were and how much we have grown. We do not look back with bitterness, but with the wisdom of one who recognizes the value of every chapter. Remember the metaphor of the river. The flowing water does not cling to the bank it left behind. It seeks the ocean. Resistance generates suffering, while fluidity generates peace. To be whole is to flow with life, trusting that the rhythm of the soul is sovereign. And when we accept this rhythm, we enter a phase of profound stillness. It is the silence of routes changing, where discomfort no longer scares us, for we know it is only the breath of the future taking shape in the now. The discomfort of transition is the anguish of being between what has ended and what has not yet begun. It is the fertile void in its rawest form. Signs of misalignment, such as emotional exhaustion in familiar environments, are invitations to deep introspection. Embracing the future requires the exercise of opening the heart without the defenses of the past. If we enter the new with the same fears as before, we will only repeat the old scenario. Silent spirituality teaches us that healing begins where we stop fighting against what we feel. We finalize this cycle understanding that the obsession with permanence corrupts the beauty of what was real. What remains when the illusions of the eternal crumble? Truth remains. Your essence remains, brighter and lighter, ready to walk in the frequency of peace and presence. Today's journey shows us that letting go is not losing, it is making room for life. And what if the pain you feel today is, in fact, the portal to the freedom you have always sought? To anchor this insight, identify a habit or a conversation that you feel no longer nourishes your soul. Imagine yourself handing this weight over to the waters of an invisible river, feeling your hands grow light. Give thanks for what was and allow yourself to just be, here and now. If these words touched something inside you, perhaps it is the moment to take one more step on this path of reconnecting with your inner truth. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue receiving content that nourishes the soul with presence and authenticity. Share in the comments what resonated with your heart. Your story might be the mirror someone else needed to find. If you seek a safe harbor, know that our community is the sanctuary where fertile silence is shared and deepened. Enjoy the channel's posts, and to continue expanding this field of presence, we suggest the video pinned in the card. Peace and light.